קדש את ליבי, קדש את נפשי, קדש את גופי לעבוד אותך. אדוני, קדש את ליבי, קדש את נפשי, קדש את גופי לעבוד אותך.
Most of you have been in Yad Vashem, but you were not in Yad Vashem after the 7th of October. And that makes a big difference. Because you see, when we come, and even for me, I can tell you as a Jew, for me, I've guided Yad Vashem for nearly 38 years, 40 years almost, thousands of people, countless of times, but it wasn't after the 7th of October. So every time I did mention it, and it was something close because, but it happened, it happened 80 years ago. So even though it is close and it's moving, and we all were very moved about what happened, we said, well, but never again, right? Never again. And then all of a sudden, here we are, and we have to deal with it, that this horrendous thing happened on October 7th of 2023 that smells like what happened then, except even worse. Not in the scope, but worse in the brutality. And when you go through Yad Vashem, you cannot imagine that there can be anything worse than the brutality of the Nazis. How many of you been there before? Lift up your hands, okay? There can be nothing. I'm sure everybody that went in there before, you said to yourself, nah, this is impossible. How can there be such wickedness? How can such evil even exist? And fast forward to October 7, 2023, the brutality and the cruelty was even worse. The way of raping was worse. And so when you see these pictures on the wall, when you see these videos, and when Abner is giving explanations, or I'm giving explanations, and you're looking at all of this, imagine this 10 times worse, and you would never be able to imagine it. And that's how wicked darkness is. That's how wicked Satan is. That's what I'm saying. We came from the Temple Mount, where I say that Lucifer, Satan, disguises himself as an angel of light, makes things beautiful, gorgeous buildings covered with gold. But what you see at the end of it is what you see in here in Yad Vashem. So when you see those pictures, those videos, and you have the Dome of the Rock in your mind, say this is where it leads to. Not this, worse. The brutality is much, much worse. Absolutely, completely ruthless. The Nazis were tremendously ruthless, were tremendously cruel. Most of them came from Christianity. And in this case, the massacre of October 7th came from Islam. So you could say that Christianity, some people say, but the Nazis were not true Christians. To be honest with you, this is a philosophical debate that we could have until Yeshua returns. But the truth is that many of them were true Christians. According to the tenets of Christianity, they were true Christians. They were not born again and spirit-filled. I don't know who was born again or spirit-filled, but many of them were card-carrying members of the Lutheran Church and of, the Christian church in Germany at the time. Germany was the most Protestant Christian nation in the world. Poland was the most Catholic Christian nation in the world. And the marriage between the two brought about Yad Vashem, brought about the Shoa, the Holocaust that happened, where 6 million Jews were exterminated after being tortured, tormented, inside of ghettos, inside of concentration camps, and eventually taken into gas chambers and cremated, burnt to a crisp. What did Hamas do on October 7th? They actually did exactly what Haj Amin al-Husseini, together with Hitler, accorded, that they will bring the Nazi final solution into the land of Israel, and that the Arabs in the land of Israel, those Muslim Arabs in the land of Israel, will be the ones to do it. And even though I say Muslim Arabs, there is also Christian Arabs that were among their ranks. Not many, but there were. And so the point is this one: both Christianity as a religious system and Islam are bringing us to exactly the same culmination point. And what is the culmination point? The annihilation of the Jewish people. Why? Because Elohim is not the author of the isms. Is the author of a relationship between Elohim and man. When he gives the Torah on Mount Sinai, then he didn't bring Judaism to existence. He didn't bring a religion to existence. He brought the way for man to actually be restored to God. When Yeshua died on Golgotha, when he died at the execution stake in the hands of the Romans that nailed him to the cross, not the Jews, the Romans that nailed him to the cross, he didn't die to establish more religious systems. He died so that there would be a direct connection between man and Elohim. Now, starting with the Jew, because it's always to the Jew first, because the Jewish people are the people of the covenant. What Satan has tried to do is try to distract the purpose of God, which is reestablish a relationship with man, and make it a religious system that will bring about his agenda. The agenda of Satan is to destroy Israel, to annihilate the Jewish people, because they are the most important witness and testimony that the God of Israel is true and he's alive. That the word of Elohim, the Bible, is true and is alive. That the Torah is true and is alive. And we know that Yeshua is the living Torah. And so that's the purpose. And we can see the culmination of the religious systems in the destruction and annihilation of Israel. Let me add one more religious system to the mix, and that would be Hinduism. You can see that the Nazi cross is a Hinduistic symbol. It's a very ancient Hinduistic symbol. And when you go and read what the Nazis believed in, you're going to see that they have a mixture of the race theory of the Hinduists as well. Because the Hinduists, and we know that in India, there's the castes, the different castes, and the race theories are all there. The race theory of Hitler was also borrowed from the Hinduistic theologies. And so here we have a combination between Christian theologies of replacement theology that saw the Jewish people as an accursed race that killed the Messiah, that murdered the Christ, which we know that the ones that actually nailed him to the cross were the Romans and not the Jewish people. And even though there was a mob that was crying, crucify him, that mob was hired by an apostate high priest, which was not from the line of the Kohen or the line of Aaron. And so we see the narrative of Christianity, which is the Jews deserve to die because they murdered the Christ. The Christians all over Europe used to declare that on Easter and on Christmas every time, and then proceed to do pogroms on the Jews, especially in Eastern Europe, but in other places of Europe as well. And so that replacement theology, together with the Muslim replacement theology, that it actually Ishmael, the promised son, Ishmael, the chosen son, and through Ishmael was the one being sacrificed by Isaac, and through Ishmael then all the promise goes forth for the land and for everything, the kingdom and everything else. Those two replacement theologies that are replacing a Jewish Messiah, that are replacing Israel as the chosen nation, have brought about the massacres of October 7 and all the way to the Shoa, the Spanish Inquisition, Shoa meaning the Holocaust, for those that don't understand, the Shoa, the Nazi Holocaust, and the Spanish Inquisition, and the pogroms, and of course the Crusades, and all of these things. So again, replacement theology. When we replace the nation of Israel for other nations to be the chosen nation, when we replace the Torah for the laws of man, when we replace the true gospel made in Zion for a Christian gospel, when we replace the Jewish Messiah for a Roman Christ, when we replace Isaac for Ishmael, when we replace, it's a lethal thing. Eventually it leads to the extermination of the Jewish people. So fighting, exposing, denouncing, renouncing, breaking, replacement theology is the most important thing for all the promises of Yah to come to pass concerning the restoration of Israel and concerning mercy on the nations. Because if replacement theology is not broken through, you can expect that the only thing your nations are going to see is nothing but judgment upon judgment upon judgment upon judgment, especially if your nation did not stand by the Jewish people during the Nazi Shoah, the Nazi Holocaust, especially if it did not stand with the Jewish people after the massacre of October 7. So when you go in there, to understand and to connect between the two things, the two events, the Nazi Shoah and the October 7th massacre, the replacement theology, Islam and Christianity, go see it all, Hinduism, all of that, New Age, go see it all, and then as you walk in here, you can also be watching, learning, and praying.
And when they build the building this way, they want to tell us we are missing the other half of the Star of David. It's only white triangle instead of two triangles. This is one of the symbolic things. The other thing, as you said, you will see it, the walls like pressing on you when you go inside. I want to say something which is positive. How something can be positive around the Holocaust. You see the trees? Under every tree, there is a small sign. Those are the people, we call them racist among nations. Those are the non-Jews that helped Jews during the Holocaust. They were risking their life, their families, everything. If anyone caught by the Nazis hiding a Jew, it's death penalty for him, for his family. And yet, there were people who risked their life to help Jews without getting anything in return. Each one of them mentioned in his name, if he's still alive, I don't think anybody of them is still alive, but when he was or she was still alive, they get a certificate from the State of Israel, or the family get a tree planted on this name of this person. Some of them, when they had hard time, they got pension from the government of Israel until the last day of their life. We have 23,000 of racists among nations that we know. And we know how to thank them. It sounds much, but when you see the whole picture, it is a drop in the sea, actually. But yet, we know how to appreciate that. And just a few personal sentences. My parents came from Iraq, so they were not involved in the Holocaust. But the parents of my wife, Michal, came from Europe. My father-in-law was born in Berlin, and he was sent when he was a teenager with his brother, by his parents, to Israel, and all the rest of the family wiped out. All of them were killed. My mother-in-law was born in Czechoslovakia. She and her sister survived Auschwitz, and all the rest of the family, all of them gone, murdered, nobody left. So only two of them remained from the whole family. And my mother-in-law, after her husband died, she was living with another Holocaust survivor. also, she knew him when they were children, also from Czechoslovakia. And he managed just 7 or 8 years ago, when he was still alive, he passed away as well, he managed to locate the family that were hiding him under their house in a cellar for 4 years. He was hiding there as a child.
Family, huh?
Yeah, Gentile family. He managed to locate them. They were not, only their children were still there, and they were brought here, and they got the ceremony with a certificate, and he survived. He survived because they were hiding him in a cellar under their house. And so all of us has those stories, and I want to end before we go in with Meir Dagan. Meir Dagan was the head of the Mossad. He was a general in the IDF, and then he was the head of the Mossad. And in his office, whenever any visitor came to his office, just behind his seat on the wall, there was a picture. In this picture, you could see a religious old Jew on his knees, covered with talit, with Nazi officers standing behind him. And whenever any visitor came to visit him, he would start the meeting by, look at this picture. This is my grandfather, few minutes before he was shot by the Nazi officers. I look at this picture, that's what he used to say, and I promise to myself, I will do anything that I can for such a thing will never happen again. It means what happened in the Holocaust, still, I'm not saying that every morning we wake up and say Holocaust, Holocaust, Holocaust. No, but it still has influence on our life even today.
Why do I insist in not calling it Holocaust? Because when you go to the Bible, you will see that Holocaust are burnt offerings pleasing with a pleasing aroma to Yahweh. So the name even that was given to this, it's a mockery. It really is a mockery. It's saying, well, you know, those Jews were burned. That was a good, pleasing offering to God. Now, of course, most people that talk about and say Holocaust, they don't think that way. But the thing is that words do matter. What you say has power. There is something in words. And so the reason why I insist in not calling it Holocaust, and I ask all of you, and even Avner right now, to call it by its name. The name is Shoa. And Shoa means an utter devastation. That we can agree on. We can agree that this was a definitely utter devastation. The difference between the time when Hitler tried to exterminate us and today when Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah and Iran and the Islamic Jihad and you name who else tries to exterminate us, is that the state of Israel was not yet established. We did not have an IDF in the nations. We did not have a state or a country, a sovereign country in the nations. Right now we are in a different predicament. Yes, it was brutal. Yes, it was terrible. But this time Israel is not going like a sheep to the slaughter. And that's the point. At that time, the Jewish people were in exile. They had the mentality of exile. They'd been persecuted for so many years, for hundreds of years. They'd been persecuted mostly in the name of Christianity. They've been expelled from place to place. They were the wandering nomadic Jew. You know that one eternal wandering Jew that is expelled out of his villages all the time, from one place to the other. Massacres happen in Easter and Christmas. All these kind of things were happening all the time. So Jews went like a sheep to the slaughter because they were used to the fact that if you just humble yourself yourself a little bit more before a despotic ruler, then eventually that thing is going to pass, or maybe you can bribe him and buy him with some money or whatever, and this is going to pass. That's why the Jews kept on obeying and obeying the Nazi predicament, to the point where some of them even paid for their ticket to go on the trains that took them to Auschwitz, that took them to Treblinka, that took them to the gas chambers, to the death camps. Because they thought to themselves, yes, they're promising us that we can start afresh, that we can have a new beginning. Yes, they're going to do it. Just hold on a little bit, and it's going to go away. The only place, well, there was other places, but the most prominent place where Jews did an uprisal was the Warsaw Ghetto. There was a Jew there by the name of Mordechai Anilevich. He was the commander of the resistance in the Warsaw Ghetto, and they decided that they preferred to die fighting the Nazis than to live under their boot to only be exterminated later on. And so they rose up. Now, of course, the Nazis managed to kill them all, but they also managed to destroy all the Nazi capabilities in the ghetto, and that ghetto had to be closed. So one thing or another, there was a success to that uprisal. Jumping up to here, there is an army, there is a country, there is a sovereignty, and there are people in the nations like you that know better, and you know that Israel is the chosen nation by Yah, and that burning the Jews is not of a pleasing aroma to Yahweh. Amen? So go inside there and see what the Shoa did to our people.
Why we have a special law in Israel that every Jew, whenever he or she want to come to Israel, they are immediately welcome, immediately getting Israeli citizenship. We are not asking how old are you healthy, are you sick, are you poor, are you rich? No way. This is home for every Jew. And Israel takes the task of taking care of all Jews around the world. This option, like the Shoa, when the Jews had problem, they made a phone call, nobody answering the phone in the other side. But nowadays, whenever Jews has a problem, somebody always pick up the phone and say, what is your problem? How can we help? And that's how we brought 70,000 Jews from Ethiopia over here. This is an example. But look at the things around. Look at those pillars in there. You can see each one different height. Why? Because children, different ages. Some of them younger, some of them older. Another thing, look at those iron sticks here on the roof, like representing unfinished building. Because they are like people, their life stopped in the middle before they managed to build the house above it. Only the iron sticks remain. And all those things symbolically actually dealing with the children. What we're going to see inside is total darkness. Darkness. You will hear names. Names. Remember names? Yes. Hear names in 3 languages. Hebrew, English, and Yiddish. Okay? You will walk through it and you will see candles. In the darkness, you will see candles.
And this whole memorial is built on the basis of 6 burning candles, 6 representing the 6 million Jews. And they put mirrors all around, so that the 6 burning candles, they project in such a way that it looks like there are thousands or millions of candles in there. So wherever you look at, that it's actually only 6 candles.
The idea is, look at the sky at night. Can you count the stars? When you go to the beach, we see the sand. Can you count the pieces of sand in there? No chance. And this is the idea. This is an endless number, because 1.5 million could make their own children and grandchildren. And this is not 1.5 million. It's actually endless number that they wiped out from life.
That's right. And it's also based in Proverbs 20, which is the spirit of man is the candle of Adonai.
Dominiquae 3 years old, Poland. שושנה 2, בת 6, גרמניה. סלומון פלנסיה, 12 years old, France. רות פוג'ין, 3 years old, לטביה.
כל עוד בלב פנימה נפש יהודי הומיה ולפתי מזרח קדימה עין לציון צופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו